Think about the last time you saw a glass of beer, wine, or whiskey. Most of us think drinking is a modern vice, a glitch in our society. But what if I told you that you were programmed to crave alcohol millions of years before humans even existed? What if alcohol wasn't just a drink, but the very reason we stopped being nomads and built cities? Scientists are now uncovering a shocking truth. Beer might be older than bread, and your brain evolved to seek it out as a survival hack long before we learned how to farm. Once you understand this, human history stops looking like a struggle for food and starts looking like a 10-million-year-old search for the perfect buzz. The story doesn't begin in a brewery. It begins in the prehistoric jungle. Imagine a tropical floor covered in rotting, fermenting fruit. About 10 million years ago, yeast began consuming the sugars in that fruit, turning it into ethanol. To most animals, this was garbage. But for our primate ancestors, it was a biological goldmine. Primate evolution took a bizarre turn when we developed a specific mutation in an enzyme called ADH4. This mutation allowed us to digest alcohol 10 times faster than any other creature. Why? Because fermented fruit was packed with more calories than fresh fruit. The smell of alcohol became a GPS for survival, helping our ancestors find high-energy food in dense forests. You didn't survive because you were the strongest. You survived because you were the best at eating rotten fruit off the jungle floor. But then, the story takes a radical turn. Humans stopped finding alcohol by accident and started manufacturing it on purpose. We've always been taught that civilization began because we wanted a stable food supply, bread and grain. But some archaeologists now suspect a much stranger motive. We may have invented farming because we wanted a steady supply of beer. Look at the site of Göbekli Tepe in modern Turkey. Over 11,000 years ago, long before cities or writing, hunter-gatherers moved 20-ton stone pillars to build a massive temple. How did they convince hundreds of people to cooperate without a government or a king? Archaeologists found giant stone basins nearby, stained with the chemical remnants of ancient brewing. Civilization didn't start with a law, it started with a party. Alcohol lowered fear, built trust, and forced strangers to sit around a fire and tell stories. It was the social glue that held the first tribes together. Alcohol didn't just build our culture, it saved our lives. For most of human history, drinking water was a death sentence. Streams were crawling with parasites, bacteria, and deadly diseases that could wipe out entire villages. Ancient humans had no idea what a germ was, but they noticed something important. People who drank fermented beverages lived longer. The brewing process killed off the pathogens that made raw water so dangerous. In medieval Europe, beer was so vital that children drank a weak version of it for breakfast. Egyptian pyramid builders weren't paid in money, they were paid in liters of beer. Imagine building the greatest monuments on Earth while being mildly intoxicated every single day. It sounds ridiculous, but in the ancient world, being sober could actually kill you. However, the alcohol of the past was nothing like the bottles on your shelf today. Ancient beer was more like a thick, cloudy grain soup, packed with nutrients and low in potency. People often drank it through straws to avoid the chunks of grain floating on top. It wasn't about getting blackout drunk. It was about psychological relief and daily energy. But as we became obsessed, we connected intoxication to the divine. The Sumerians loved beer so much they created a goddess for it named Ninkasi. One of the oldest written documents in human history isn't a law or a treaty. It's a religious hymn that is actually a secret recipe for brewing beer. To the ancients, the feeling of intoxication felt like a bridge to the gods. But this liquid gold had a dark side that would eventually poison empires. Take ancient Rome. The Roman elite consumed massive amounts of wine, but their winemaking had a hidden, deadly flaw: lead. They used lead containers and lead-based syrups to sweeten their drinks. Modern researchers now believe that chronic lead poisoning from wine may have caused the mental decline, mood disorders, and infertility that eventually crippled the Roman leadership. We spent thousands of years experimenting with fermentation without ever truly understanding what it was doing to our biology. When distillation was finally invented, the game changed forever. Suddenly, alcohol wasn't a wheat-grain soup anymore. It was a high-velocity drug. Distilled spirits became a global currency. Governments taxed it to build navies, and empires traded it to conquer continents. By the time of the Industrial Revolution, alcohol had become one of the most profitable substances on the planet. And through all this time, empires collapsed, currencies failed, and religions changed, but alcohol remained. It is buried too deep in our nervous system to ever be removed. So, when you see people gathering today with a drink in their hand, remember that they are performing a ritual that is millions of years old. The laughter, the stories, and the connection are the exact same behaviors that built the first cities 11,000 years ago. We are a species shaped by fermentation. From the jungle floor to the neon lights of the modern city, we have been chasing the same feeling for eternity. The real mystery isn't why humans drink. The mystery is how a species with a brain pre-programmed for alcohol could ever hope to stop. Somewhere deep inside you, your ancient ancestors are still searching the jungle floor for that first fermented fruit. Thank you for watching. If you found this journey into our intoxicated past fascinating, hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. Until next time, stay curious.